welcome back. We're the Book Mavens. I'm Amanda, she's Rachel, and you're joining us for our 1-year anniversary. Wow, wow, wow. So, yeah, we've been booktubing for a year. What a ride. On some hands, it feels like a year. And on the other hand, it doesn't at all. It feels like we just started. But I went back and watched some of our Hobb videos recently, and I was like, oh, we were babies.
We were such babies.
I mean, it was only a year ago, but I feel like a baby. Maybe it was because it was the summer, too, and not the school year. I don't know. But it was great. So we've been at this for a year. And we wanted to take an opportunity to just say thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting along. We certainly have enjoyed getting to know some of you in the comments. And we're just going to take a little jaunt down memory lane. Yep. I have selected quotes from some of our books, which I will read to Rachel, and Rachel will have to try to guess what book it's from. Now, some of these books we liked, some of these books we did not like. It's been a real roller coaster, for sure. But we've learned a lot. So let's get started. Rachel.
Okay.
Your first quote, and if you need a hint, you may say so, and I will give you a hint.
All right. I get to phone a friend.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
They had come so far, and yet asylum remained out of reach. The swift-flowing river was deep and treacherous. No dragon could swim it. True flight was the only way home.
Well, if we're talking dragons, we have to be talking about the Rainwild Chronicles.
Yes, I will give it to you. It is from the first book, The Dragon Keeper.
Of course.
We did not like this series.
Well, I think it's like, I loved all the stuff with the dragons. I hated the characterization of the books. Like, right? Because we talked about, like, you had Fitz, you had all of the, and Dutiful, yeah, Dutiful was around before that. You had all of these characters who were very, very young with a massive amount of responsibility and were treated very maturely. And then, like, the adolescents they introduce in those books were just not the same level. Treated them more like teenagers instead of adults when she had been treating teenagers as adults. It was just such kind of like a 180.
And they're given complete autonomy over this dragon. Like, hey, you're perfect. You are completely responsible for this dragon that could kill you and us and all of it. But also you're a child. And you're like, well.
It was, there was just a lot of, I had a lot of internal.
And I didn't love the dragons as much. Well, this is fair. Rachel loves dragons.
I do.
I have a hard time with anything that's that arrogant, human, dragon, what have you. Although we had some really good conversations, I remember the videos about that you're personifying, you're like trying to put human standards of behavior on a species that is not human.
Right.
So go back and watch those videos, guys.
Yeah.
Rainbow Chronicles. They were a ride. They're also the only, so all of Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderling series are in trilogies, except for that one, which was broken apart into a quad. Which we learned was probably an editor's decision, not hers per se, if I recall from our comments.
It should have been a duology. She had written one initially, and then was
for sure could have put those first two together
it.
And made. I mean, at the very least, you could have put those two together. It was kind of a slog till you got to the last book, and then it sped up.
Yeah, things happened.
I did like Alice though. She ended up being one of my favorite characters.
Oh, and the boat captain. I mean, their relationship is very cute, but everything dealing with the adolescents and the weird romantic things, that all could have been scrapped. I hated that.
Alice's really dropped journey of like self.
Yeah, it was very good.
Reflection and change and like taking ownership of her own life was, I think, very appealing to me. But like I said, that's like a one spot in the whole.
If you were ever going to go back and reread it, I feel like I would be like...
No, I'll just let her read it. I'll just read my favorite scenes because what was his name, the guy?
The captain.
No, not the captain.
Oh, which one?
The valet, best bud, jerk guy.
I don't remember.
Something. See, we didn't like him. Anyway,
It was tough.
It's fine.
There's a lot of character growth, but it was just very... Yeah, it was just different. It was a different tone than our other books. It was a little jarring, I think.
Yeah. Okay, try this one.
Okay.
I must go, uncertain of my fate, but I shall return hither or follow your party as soon as possible. A word, a look will be enough to decide whether I enter your father's house this evening or never.
Okay, so that's your man, Wentworth.
It is 100% my man, Wentworth.
Persuasion. Persuasion.
Wentworth.
Didn't I give you a pin that had that?
You did.
quote on
It's a
it?
beautiful pin. It's
I love the pin.
Every time I open my jewelry drawer, I laid it so that it's like the first thing I see.
There you go. It was a cute pin.
Oh, Wentworth, the most sigh-worthy Austen hero.
I loved doing the Falling for Austen with you because of your waffling you did with your top two.
That's true. Persuasion just hits me different. I think it was just right. It was the fall. It was cool outside. There was something about it that was just really speaking to me.
Yeah, because you love Sense and Sensibility, and
love
Sense and Sensibility is my second. That's my second favorite Austen. But you were so sold Sense and Sensibility. That's where it is. And then you did this Persuasion, and you were really
and then I just I re-fell in love with it, and like.
I think it was
I really
Wentworth
just
that
don't
really
think
did it. I think you just like
everybody talks about
him.
Darcy. Well, I love Anne too. Everybody talks about Darcy. Everybody talks about Wickham and everybody talks about all these guys. We are not talking enough about Wentworth. Is what
Wentworth
I'm saying.
is a good one. He's a good one.
That's what I'm saying. Internet, come on.
I mean, my big thing, of course, with Sense and Sensibility is I really just don't like Edmund.
Yes.
Edward. Sorry, Edmund's from
Edward.
Mansfield Park. Sorry. So Edward.
I understood Edward.
I think he was a wimp. And a chicken.
Well, I think
So
he
I
spent
didn't
so
like
much.
him.
He's kind of one of those where, and I cannot remember what movie this is from. But he's one of those where, like, he spent so much time trying to do what is right that he forgot to do what was right. Like, spent so much time trying to not do bad by Lucy that he actually ended up being really hurtful and kind of emotionally dishonest to Eleanor.
Yeah.
Which I can see now, the older Amanda reading this. But, like, what is that from? That's a line.
What's
From I
What's
was
the
so
line?
busy trying to do what was right that I forgot to do what was right.
I don't think that's actually from an Austen.
I think it's from a book. No, it's from something. It's from a book or a movie.
I don't know.
Help me out, audience. You know what I'm talking about? This guy says it. Okay. It's going to come to me, and I'll probably post it in the
I
comments
just
when I
think he
think of
was
it
a wimp.
in like
I'm
3
less
days.
forgiving of Edward. The
You
older
are.
I get.
You are less
Less
forgiving of him.
forgiving.
I was much
But
more
I love
willing
Colonel
to
Brandon.
concede.
Colonel Brandon's the big hero for me in that one.
That's true. Yes.
Brandon is sigh-worthy.
He's another one. Y'all are sighing over the wrong people. Well,
Yeah.
not the wrong people, but you need to be more inclusive in your sighing. All right, try another one. Okay. This one's easy. Okay. This place looks like Hierapolis, she whispered. The decaying grandeur and deathly silence made it hard to believe there was a teeming city behind the high brass walls.
Well, brass gives it away. So we're talking City of Brass.
Yeah, high brass walls.
Yes.
What a journey that book series was.
That was an emotional read, that second book.
Yeah, that is one of the few series I recommend with a caveat. Like, you got to be in a mental and emotional place where you could go on a roller coaster.
Well, it's just the politics of it and the feeling of helplessness and working so hard to achieve a goal and have it just kind of like ripped away from you in a really horrible way. Like, you get so frustrated when you can see that these are people offering solutions that could help save these people, and it gets trashed.
No, I think you
by a
nailed
horrific
it.
villain.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
is bad,
Also,
and
she
I was
may
like,
be the most. She's like the scariest villain.
She's really bad.
She's like real crazy. Like, she's my top villain we've read. Like, in
I think
terms
so.
of like true villain.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. That's the journey of the book. I completely understand how she reached this point, and yet am still so
It's horrifying.
horrified. Right? Like, she's not even. Yeah, she's to me the number one villain. Like, the most villainous of any villain I've ever read.
Oh, for sure. If you want a complex, true villain, there is no morally gray. There is nothing. She is a villain. You like that. You should read The City or the David Bode trilogy.
Yeah, there's something about that development, though, because you're like on this journey, and maybe that makes it even more horrifying is because you understand how she got there, and you should see, and you can absolutely clearly see why she should not have chosen this way.
Mm-hmm. There's tremendous character development for other characters. There's some really great redemption moments that are just really well thought out well illustrated. That it gets you. It got me here.
You will be excited in the beginning, absolutely flustered in the middle, devastated,
but then
right up until you're fine at the end.
And it's good. Like, it
It's
has
so
such
good.
a satisfying conclusion. Very
So
satisfying.
good. I mean, honestly,
Such a
I
great
would put that
series.
in the top. Like, I would put that in my best. I'd put that up there with the best written
That we've covered
that we've covered this year.
For
That's
sure.
right
They're
up there.
very, very well written.
It's right up there. I mean, obviously Robin Hobb, because that's the thing. Like, they're both fantasy, but in my mind, they're a little bit different because Robin Hobb's is just such a sweeping world build, right? Like, it's 16 books of this. I don't know why in my mind they're different, but in terms of like quality of writing,
oh no, everything
right up there. I'd put Chakraborty right up there.
Oh, yeah,
So
for sure.
you know, definitely check it out. But also be in a place like if you have a lot of
You
stress
might have some
or
book
waiting in your
throwing
life, this is not the moment.
moments.
You need to wait till you're like till you got room for the emotional angst.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this one is a little bit tricky, but I think you'll get it because if you need a clue, let me know.
All right.
Okay, you don't deserve these people, a small voice said quietly. Why they love you is beyond me. I would tell you that I would rejoice in your downfall the day they find you out, save that is also the day their hearts will break. By what luck do you deserve the loyalty of such folks?
All right. Well, I do know this one, and I love that we're doing this one right after.
Right after, I was going to say,
City of Brass.
speaking of villains.
Right, so that's Kenneth from the Live Ship trilogy. Well, his
little bracelet.
Bracelet, yeah. So
His quickened.
yes, this little piece of wizard wood that he has there.
Speaking of villains.
Kenneth, yeah. So she and I had quite a conversation about Kenneth. I
Go back and watch any of the Live Ship.
Kenneth was it was a subject of controversy for us. I
Still is.
so immensely enjoyed reading Kenneth's journey. And he is very morally gray. And you're kind of on the fence because you know that his intentions aren't good, but everything he does benefits the people around him. And so, like, it's hard to...
Sorry.
Up to the end...
Well, this is where we disagree,
Yeah.
because for you were like, you were undecided about him. I disliked him pretty much immediately.
Yeah. And see, I didn't, because he did benefit the people around him. He elevated their positions. They ended up having a lot more choice, a much better life because of his machinations that he did that were not for anybody's benefit but his own. But they were it's just circumstance ended up improving the lives of a lot of people around him.
A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people.
Well, yeah. But then in the end, of course, and you're sickened by the things that he does, and he clearly ends up a full-on villain, but his journey getting there is a fascinating read.
I think that series
is very interesting. It was a really interesting one to read about.
Yes.
His character development, his journey was fascinating.
The Live Ship trilogy, to me, other than just being like a really great adventure story, I think is a master class in how you write uncertainty. Mm-hmm. Because there is so much uncertainty. All of the characters are facing, like, Winthrop has no idea what's going to happen to him. You have no idea if Kenneth is going to end up being a good guy or a bad guy. Like, there's just so much, like,
well, you know
living
he's
in
a bad guy,
well,
but you don't know if
'cause
he's
a
going
pirate.
to fulfill his ultimate plan.
I think it's just because you don't know if Vivacious is going to get back. I think it's in the way the characters have to continue to act despite all of the uncertainty is so masterfully done. I think if there was a word that we used over and over again with Robin Hobb, it was masterful.
Yeah.
Like, she is
But it's also just the
genius.
unfolding of the story, like learning more and more about what the serpents are and what that journey is and what it means for the world. Everything just unfolds. It's amazing. And she has such great little Easter eggs. You got a character in there that was from the other series that was a big surprise
I totally
to
missed
you.
that one, guys.
That was just so well crafted. And I think I listed the Live Ship Traders. To me, that was her best written trilogy overall.
That was one of my tops for sure.
And then the character arc for What's Her Face. I'm terrible with names. It's not that I don't think these characters are important. I just don't remember. No.
They are Vivacia.
No. The sister who is awful but ends up being
Alta.
amazing.
Malta.
I loved her story.
I love that the full name's the horse Malta later. That to me is like the ultimate.
Well, I mean, it's perfect. And I just loved watching her grow. She's somebody that you're just so annoyed with. And then she ends up being this heroine of her own story. And you have to love that.
The
it's
female
so
characters in
well
that
written.
one in particular were exceptionally well done. Not that the male characters weren't, but like everything that's happening at the city is matriarchally led. Like, I mean, it is very powerful, these dynamic relationships between these women and the way that they come together in trial, but also...
Well, plus, if you read them in order, you spent 3 books in Fitz's head, and then to switch to having a multi-perspective, very large story compared to what you get with the Farseer trilogy, it was just such an expansion to the world. It's just so good. So good. Now, we do recommend that you read, if you're going to try and tackle Hobb, you need to go in order. It's important to see that world expand that way. Some people say to read them out of order. Some people say to go to live ship because it's dealing with a different set of characters. But you need the history. You need that world building. And yes, Farseer starts a little slow, but you'll fall in love with it.
You need Farseer. You really
need it. And for the full, you need it.
Yeah, there's so much at the end that you need from that beginning. You need to do it. And I had a slow, if you go back and watch the first videos, I was still kind of like, I don't know if this is going to be a terrible summer or what.
Because you really live with Fitz. Like, you are inside his skin. You are living with him. And so sometimes that can be a little tedious for some people to read, just being inside one perspective for so long and such heavy level of detail that she uses. But you need it. And if you make it through the whole series and you get through the Tawny Man trilogy, which was excellent, and all the way to the Fitz and the Fool, you need all of that. You need all of that background. And it's such an emotional journey. Yeah.
The last trilogy is...
That was your favorite.
It ended up being, but I wonder if I went back and read it again now, if it still would be.
If
it was still just coming off that. Well, but it's also just like, it's the conclusion. It's the rounding out of all these corners. It's the resolution of all these things. And it is so emotionally charged because, I mean, you've been living with these characters for 12 books, 13 books, right? And then you get into this last trilogy and it's just like, bam, 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 bam. And just like life, some things work out really well. Some things are just so disappointing.
She writes such realism.
It was so good. Yeah. So listen, it was worth the 13 books to get that payoff for that last trilogy.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that's why we were saying read it in order, because the depth of these like Easter eggs, the depth of these ties between these characters.
You have to go on that journey.
You have to go on the journey, or you will not enjoy the ending as much.
For sure.
Ugh. Do it. Read them this summer. Do your own Summer of Hobb challenge, and then you can watch our videos and leave us comments, because we'll go back and comment with you. Okay, last one.
Okay.
Maybe we should do a different one for our last one.
I don't know. Whatever you want to do. You can always throw out another one.
Because I haven't thrown out a lot that's not our big project ones.
Okay.
Should I do a non-project one?
It's up to you.
This is hard. Okay, I'm going to do it because I like this quote.
Okay.
This one I made really easy for you.
Okay.
I picked this one for you. She was the youngest of 2 daughters of a most affectionate, indulgent father, and had, in consequence of her sister's marriage, been mistress of his house from a very early period.
And that's from your absolute favorite Austen, Emma.
You're full of lies.
That was the one that I wanted Amanda to read. But it's okay, because I got what I wanted. Emma wasn't at the bottom of the stack after that. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, because Mansfield Park sank like a rock.
I sure did.
Once I'd actually read it. Ooh.
Yeah.
I had ranked it higher initially just purely off the movies.
So Amanda needed to do a read. That's why I'm telling her, I'm like, no, you need to read them. You're never going to be an Emma stan, and that's okay. That's okay. I've come to terms with it. But Emma does not deserve to be at the bottom of the Austens.
Compared to the other Austens, that is true.
That was a win for me.
And I will say, I have more respect for Emma as a story of growth.
Yeah.
Now than I did before. She just
really rubs you the wrong way.
She really does rub me the wrong way.
And it's okay.
This is one of those we're going to... Well, and it's kind of the same. Well, not that they're the same, like Kenneth, but Kenneth just rubbed me the wrong way from day one.
Yeah.
Some characters are like that.
But I think that's good. I mean, it's the fact that it still elicited an emotional response from you. You know what
That's
I mean?
true.
You weren't like bleh about the character. You had strong feelings
Well,
about that character.
that's how I felt about you when we read Agatha Christie's and Then There Were None. You had strong reactions to the ending of that book. I mean, you moved on because it's not like a live in it, but it's a one and a done book.
Yeah, I know.
But you were surprised a little by the ending, and you had an emotional reaction to it, even though
anger.
Even though it was one you didn't like. Yeah. What another?
We didn't throw out an "and then there were none" quote, so we don't get to talk about that one today.
You can go back on your radio. Rachel was displeased. I loved watching you read it.
But we talked about it. We talked about how good doing the mysteries was for me as a reader, because it really helped me narrow down the things that I like and dislike about that genre. I very much dislike a story where you cannot puzzle it together and have a conclusion make sense. I do not like a big expository dump at the end.
It's also why we didn't like 7.5 discs.
Right. Like, no.
What?
I don't want to go on a journey and then have that kind of ending.
See, and I like to be surprised. I'm totally fine if I don't figure it out. I'm here for the ride.
And it doesn't mean that I have to have all of the pieces together and know it before the conclusion of the book, but the conclusion has to make sense to where if I went back, I would have been able to assemble those clues. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can't do that with "And Then There Were None."
I don't know if you, I mean, maybe. I'd be interested to see. Okay, so when we were...
You could have turned any of those characters' backgrounds where it ended up being where they hadn't done that.
But that's the thing, but they weren't. Those were the backgrounds they were given. I would be interested to see.
But you get a background with the judge, and
I found a video that I've saved. I haven't watched it yet, where this girl tries to basically solve an Agatha Christie. It's a different one. It's the murder of Roger Ackroyd. But she makes a clue board, and like she's going through it and she's trying to solve it before she gets to the end. I would be interested to see if anybody's ever tried to do that with it, and then there were none.
How?
Because you have to. I'm saying close read and deduction. You gotta like Sherlock it. You gotta Lady Sherlock it. I finished all 6 of those, by the way. They're so good, guys. Read them. But also, fair warning, because the 7th one, the published date was moved from November of this year until March of 2023. And I am happy to wait for quality, but I might have like...
It's so hard. It's so hard to wait for an unfinished book. I know a lot of readers purposely will wait until it's a finished series because they...
I kind of thought it was. And then I was like 3 or 4 books in, and I'm like, oh...
Yeah, I hate to wait for things. It's very frustrating. Yeah. I have a few of those where I'm just on tenterhooks, just dangling, waiting for them to.
I do the same thing with television shows. I will wait till the series, not the season. The series is over.
We do have a project coming up. We're just going to give you all a hint. We're going to give you the name. It's Faye May, so be ready. Be ready for some talk about the Fae.
It's gonna be.
Hint.
It's gonna
That's
be,
your hint.
It's gonna be interesting. So join us next time when we will be starting our Fae May, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. That really does help us out, and we appreciate you talking to us in the comments. We look forward to your thoughts. See you next time. Bye.